Welcome to this episode of the Maximus Podcast with your hosts, Bobby Maximus and Joe Cebula. Today, we are going to talk about keeping things simple in the fitness and health world. It's January 2024. It's a new year, new you. Everybody on the planet is interested in getting more fit, getting more healthy, and then everything you see on social media is designed with health, wellness, fitness, goal setting, motivation, all these things in mind. And Joe, one of the number one things that I've always been against this, but that you're really seeing if you open your eyes, is everything seems to be a fad. Everything seems to be a hack. Everything seems to be a shortcut. There's all kinds of podcasts, social media posts, all these things that are designed at delving into something I call microscience, giving people stuff to worry about that, frankly, they shouldn't be worried about at all.
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, that's the whole, there's a new food that you need to avoid or a new supplement that you need to be taking, and they have to spike it with a little bit of fear to get people to actually bite.
Yeah, or a super magic ice bath protocol, a super magic sauna protocol. There's a new fast, like everybody was going on and on about this fast that Dana White was on. What was it? It was like 7 days, no food, blah, 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 blah. Like, listen, I'm all for having the optimal ice bath routine. I'm all for having the optimal sauna routine. I'm all for trying a fast if there's some real scientific evidence that can back it up. But to me, those things should be a last resort. If you can't manage the simple task of getting into the gym every day, actually, let me rephrase that, not getting into the gym every day, just exercising every day, because we know you don't need a gym. You can work out in your basement, you can work out in your backyard, you can work out in your garage. But if you can't handle the simple task of exercising every day, eating, I'm going to say relatively healthy, Joe, because I don't think everyone needs to weigh and measure and count macros and everything like that, and getting a little more sleep. Like, if you can't do that as just a base lifestyle, I don't know if you have any business worrying about, again, the optimal ice bath routine when you don't even own an ice bath, the optimal sauna routine, the optimal food that you should eat, blah, 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 blah. And that's where I see people going. And it's frustrating because I think if people not knew, because I think deep down they know, they're just not willing to do the work. But if people really understood how simple being fit and being healthy was, I mean, a lot of this stuff would, frankly, go away.
Well, I think, thousands and thousands of years ago, people were generally more fit because either you were fit or you died.
Yeah.
100,000 years ago, you knew how to hunt and gather and stay alive, and it took effort. And if you weren't able or willing to do that, you're on your own.
Yep.
So at a certain point, I think, it should be simple. It should make sense, because that's the kind of animal that we are. But I think we do tend to overcomplicate things. When a professional athlete, and I'll throw this out there, when a professional athlete says, that they started this ice bath thing and it was a game changer, I just want to make sure that people understand that they're not saying that they went from 24% body fat, out of shape, then they started doing ice baths and then became a professional athlete. They were already a professional athlete when they started the ice bath. So the game that changed wasn't that. So where are you on that spectrum? If you're trying to lose a little bit of weight, you're trying to be a little bit more fit, don't expect that thing that a professional athlete level of fitness already had to be the same effect for you. You got to get to that point to have that effect.
Yeah, literally you're looking at what, the last 1% or 3%? Yeah, like I say with supplements. And listen, I'm a big advocate of supplements. I take supplements. I recommend them to people. But if I'm really honest with you about this, Joe, supplements might account for the last 5%, and at 5%, I'm being generous. But it might account for the last 5% of your fitness journey. Like, again, if you can't handle exercising every day, eating healthy, and sleeping, I don't know what business you have being worried about carnitine, collagen, protein powder, creatine, multivitamins, reds, greens, like all these other things. They're not going to matter. But what I really believe it comes down to is People need the psychological security blanket. They need that pacifier. They need that thing that teddy bear, that blankie that's going to help them sleep better at night. They need to believe that there's some secret out there that they don't have. There's some special thing that they're missing because they're unwilling to admit that they just don't work that hard, that they just don't put in enough effort. But that's a really hard thing to do. You and I have talked. I want to make sure
we got to frame this right too, because I don't think it's that they don't think that they're not working that hard. Like, they think they're working hard, but they have no idea what that actually entails. Like, getting, and this kind of goes back to what I was saying about the ice bath, like getting to the point where, you know, there's a noticeable difference of whether you're taking a particular supplement or not requires that you go as far as you can without it. You have to get up to your limit. And if you're not at your limit, then these other little things that really high performers add on aren't even going to be noticeable. You know, if you've never worked out a day in your life and then you start supplementing creatine, you're probably not going to notice a huge difference because you're so early on in this process and so underdeveloped that whatever difference that bit of creatine is making in you is lost in all the other changes that are going on. But if you're dedicated and you're hitting the gym and you're at this point where, like, you basically cannot train harder than what you're doing on a regular basis, then adding something like that in could find you could find a way to get like another workout in. You could find a way to get like a little bit better sleep, or like whatever that little tiny thing is that has become your limit. If you've never done anything, everything is your limit. So like it's pointless. And you have to go as far as you can possibly go down one road before you start addressing the issue of I'm at the end of my road.
Well, on the extreme example, like, imagine you're out there, you're watching this, so you haven't worked out in 10 years. Do you really think just shoving a bunch of protein powder into your mouth is going to all of a sudden make you wake up and look like Arnold Schwarzenegger? Like, it's not going to happen. But one of the things I wanted to address, Joe, was, again, people need to believe it's not them.
Yeah.
Like, we've taught seminars all over the world. We've taught them to thousands of people. And one of the things that I always talk about is ruthless self-assessment. Like, the hardest thing to do, whether it's in your job, your marriage, your parenting, exercise, is to look yourself in the mirror and say, I'm not doing enough. I don't work hard enough. I don't have enough work ethic. Case in point, and I brought my little phone because it has a calculator, because I want to make sure, Joe, my math is right on here, just so people get an idea of this. So you decide to start your fitness journey in 2024. You decide that this is the year you're finally going to get fit, Joe. You're finally going to be a new year, new you. You're getting that six-pack. You're making that transformation. You're getting shredded. Like, you're doing everything you can to get fit. You decide you're going to work out twice a week. You're going to go to the gym twice a week, and you're going to get some. So you're hitting 2 out of 7 days, right? What does that translate to, I guess, down the road? 104 out of 365 days. So 104 divided by 365. Congratulations. You worked out 28% of the year. So let's bring it back to school. We got A's, B's, C's, D's, F's. So an F is 40 to 50%. Do they give G's, or is an F just an F? Because, like, if you keep going down the ladder, a G is 30 to 40. You're looking like an H right here. Like, that is not. I don't think
for the listeners at home, if you're from the States, he uses the Canadian scale of grading, which might be slightly different. 72 and below is an F in the American system.
Fair, but you're like a sub F down here. Like, you're like, you are well into failing. You're not like failing by a percent. And the problem is, people are out there patting themselves back that they worked out 2 days a week. And then that's the person who's wondering, what can I be missing? Like, I'm going 2 days a week. I'm making all these sacrifices. I'm crushing it. So then you have the person that's going 3 days a week. Now that seems really good. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you're really sacrificing, you're grinding, you're working hard. So 3 times 52, 156 days of the year. Congratulations. Out of 365. Wow. 42%. You are still...
It's better. It's better for sure, but
you're still...
It's not much.
I mean, you're still putting up some really failing numbers here. So now you start to hit the magic number, Joe, 4 days a week. 4 days a week. You hit 208 days a year. You're absolutely crushing it. In fact, all your friends, all your work colleagues, your family, they're calling you obsessed. Mm-hmm. You're the fitness guy. It's your identity. You wear the socks. You wear the noble shoes. You've got like the whole deal going on. Divided by 365, it's 57%. Like you're still, that's not a good effort. Like in what world is a 57% winning percentage, a 57% success rate?
Yeah.
That's not good. Even 5 days a week, Joe. 5 days a week is 260 days a year, 365. You're still, what did you say failing was?
72.
At 5 days a week, 71%. You're still failing. I mean, you're not even passing at that point. So I mean, we could go through the numbers for 6 and 7, but my point is, if you're not exercising every day, I don't know if whatever. And listen, BioLane, Andrew Huberman, Gary Brecka, Rhoda Patrick. There's all kinds of people that come out with really, really good quality information, like really like the best of the best minds. It's brilliant stuff. But again, if you can't handle the simple task of showing up every day, how much can that help you? What were those numbers that we put through? 28%, 42%, 53%, 72%. Like, how much is that really going to help you?
Well, and again, I think when you look, bang for your buck, the hack that's going to allow you to like improve your recovery enough to get that one more workout in.
Yep.
It's not going to work if you're going from 2 to 3 workouts. Like what you need to do, if you're only working out twice a week and you're stuck, you got to work out 3 times a week.
Yeah.
If you're working out 3 times a week and you're stuck, it isn't because you're not doing ice baths. It's because you need to work out 4 times a week. When you get up to the point where you're working out twice a day, 5 days a week, like you're putting in some serious effort. You're under some serious strain, and you've got to do everything you can to improve your recovery, to ensure that you're not getting injured, that you're not overdoing it. And it takes a long time for your body to become accustomed to that workload.
Well, and so I want to add to that.
Expect, if you're at 2 days a week of sort of kind of hard workouts, but like you don't like to sprint, you don't really like to lift heavy, like you're missing out on so many aspects of training that you just need to add in. You just need to give more time and give your body the signal that it needs to change.
Yeah.
Again, adding an ice bath at that point, that's not really going to do that much. But
well,
if you're doing 10 hours of training a week, you better be taking a freaking ice bath.
Yeah, but I want to add to that. We're talking about, I mean, Joe, we've only addressed showing up. We haven't even talked about the intensity component.
Right.
Because it's one thing to like show up and think you exercised for an hour. But did you actually do an hour of work? Or did you roll into whatever gym you're a member of, your Planet Fitness, your Bossa, your Golds, your Lifetime, your Equinox, whatever. Swipe your membership card, walk slow on a treadmill for 10 minutes, do a couple of sets of 10, and then go home. Like there's another whole component here, and we're not going to talk about that this podcast because we could have a year of podcasts on just exercise science. But like the real question is now, are you pushing yourself or are you just showing up? And for a lot of people, yes, step one is to show up every day. Then it's to actually do some quality work. Then it's actually like to find your intensity and keep going further. But again, until that stuff is covered off, I don't know if you have any business worrying about all these rabbit holes that you want to go down. But again, it's a psychological shield, because if you're going 3 or 4 days a week and you really think you're working hard, you really think you're putting in a massive effort, you really think you're doing everything you can do, when deep down you know you're not. Deep down you know there's more that can be done, right? It makes sense to worry about these other things, because then it's not your fault. It's not that you don't have any work ethic. It's not that you don't know how to work hard, because I'm a man. I know how to work out. I do push-ups. No one's going to tell me. We always say, Joe, the worst people to train are middle-aged white dudes.
Yeah.
Because they know. They know how to fight. They know how to work out. No one's going to tell them
I learned
anything.
everything I need to know about lifting weights from my middle school football coach. I don't need to pay you. They're tight with their money. They're not flexible with their time. They know everything. Yeah, it's the worst.
Yeah, I benched 3 plates in high school. Like, okay, you did, bro, sure. Yeah. Right? Like, you haven't benched 3 plates in your life, but memory's a funny thing. But you can't tell that person anything, right? But it's easier for that person, rather than look in the mirror, to blame it on the fact that they don't have an ice bath. To blame it on the fact they can't afford that super secret supplement, the what is it, the BPC 157, the Wolverine peptide, because that's the thing that's been holding them back. I go off on people about this all the time, Joe, on TRT. Now, you're looking at somebody that's never taken a PED or TRT, and you're in the same boat. And a lot of people think I'm against TRT, and I'm not necessarily against it. What I'm against is you don't exercise, you eat processed food, you don't sleep, you haven't seen the sun in 5 calendar years. But you think you need TRT because you have low testosterone.
Yeah. Because again, it's too much to put any effort into trying to increase your TRT without supplements.
You know, and this will be controversial, but I feel the same way about depression and anxiety. Like, are there people that have a real problem that need help? 100%. And if you're one of the people, please get the help you need. Go to a therapist, go to a doctor, like, do what needs to be done. But, and I know these people, if you sit in your basement 8 to 9 hours a day in the dark, and you don't exercise, and your entire diet is Doritos and Coca-Cola, you're gonna feel depressed. You're gonna feel anxious. You're going to feel, and if I was going to sign up to go on a medication for the rest of my life, Joe, I would want to make sure I've done everything I can in advance to make sure now if I need it, great. But again, people aren't willing to invest that time. Like for my clients, I demand 6 months of 30 minutes of sun a day, 8 hours sleep a night, exercise every day, no processed food before we'll even talk about sending them to somebody that might be able to help them with TRT.
Yeah.
That's it. And I've watched people's testosterone go from 300 to 800, 400 to 900. Like it happens. But again, people aren't willing to put in the work. And that's why I think that the 75 Hard program that Andy Frisella, talks about all the time, that he invented, I think it's a great program. Because what it does, it's not even I don't even call it a training program, because he doesn't give you workouts.
Right.
It's literally, you got to drink water, you got to work out every day, twice a day actually, once outside. You got to read 10 pages of a book, and you got to stick to a diet, whatever that diet is. And if people can stick to that for 75 days, it is life-changing results. Like earth-shattering, eye-popping. And again, doesn't give you a diet or a workout plan. You just have to show up twice a day. Like, you do Zumba, you can do Pilates, you can do like whatever it is. But it's really, like, if you're listening, it's really that simple. Like, it's just not complicated. So stop.
Well, and honestly, you gotta walk before you can run.
Yes.
Like, I think we all know that, but like, you also have to give yourself some time. You can't just show up walking on Monday and then hit the ground sprinting on Tuesday. Like, you got to walk, like Bobby said, for 6 months. You've got to do that work. You've got to give your body time to adapt to what you're doing, and then you can make some changes. Then you can add some workouts. Then you can start tweaking your training program. But if you don't build that base, if you don't take that time to get that first thing right, what are we adding on to here? What kind of a structure are we building if we just rush through the whole base level? It's just going to come crashing down.
And on that note, listen, this might sound overwhelming to you if you're listening. Like, you might be thinking, here, this guy's telling me to exercise every day. He's telling me that 2 times a week isn't good enough. He's telling me that 3 times. I mean, this guy's telling me that 6 times a week isn't good enough. I get it. I get you're overwhelmed. I get you're scared. You got to start somewhere. What I want you to understand is, if you're off the couch from doing nothing, 2 days a week this week is a huge win, but it's got to go up to 3, and it's got to go up to 4, and it's got. So again, Joe, you're right. Like start walking, but do what you can, and just
let's use walking. I want to give let's do a real example. You've never worked out a day in your life. You're severely overweight. You're broken. So you decide, all right, I'm gonna make this happen. So 1 day a week, I'm gonna go for a walk. Well, realistically, 1 day a week is probably not going to be world-shattering, world-changing for you, but it's a start.
Yes.
So you get up and you walk on Monday. And you do that for a month, and you're like, you know what? I feel good. I've only walked 1 day a week. I bet I could walk 2 days a week. So now you're walking Monday and Wednesday. You do that for a month, for 2 months. And then you're walking 3 days a week. And then you're walking 4 days a week. And now you're walking 5, 6, 7 days. You're out walking every day. Something has changed. But at a certain point, walking ain't going to be enough. You're going to get to a certain point. Your body's going to find a new level of like equilibrium, a new homeostasis. You're going to need something else. And that's where adding these other things in. So how about lifting some weights? And then we start adding that in. How about instead of walking, we're actually like running? Maybe we're learning, like we're going to go train for like a 5K or something. Like we have to continue to turn those little dials up one piece at a time, but you've got to work to your capacity within that realm. So if you've never worked out a day in your life, and Bobby's sitting here saying, well, 2 days a week is not enough, that doesn't mean you need to start doing 7 days a week right now. You need to get to the point where you're working out 7 days a week, and then we can talk about changing some of the other things to make those workouts more effective.
But I want to...
So again, you've got to walk before you can run, and you've got to get to the point where you've basically done all you can at level 1, then we can move to level 2. You don't just get to skip to level 2.
But I want to push back on something. When in this podcast did I say you had to work out every day? When did I say you had to throw up?
This is me paraphrasing. This is what I'm hearing. Oh, Bobby says you have to work out twice a day, every day, or you're a scrub. So I'm just going to go work out.
I was very clear with the word, very actually careful with the words that I chose. I said you have to exercise and get physical activity.
Yes, yeah.
Every day. So here's the thing. You don't have to go to a gym. You don't have to do a CrossFit WOD. You don't have to sign up for the CrossFit Open. You don't have to go crazy. You don't have to download my program off the internet. No, I just want you to move around. Mm-hmm. So your example now of walking, if you're able to just walk every day for 6 months, you're probably going to, in the process, lose 30 pounds.
Yeah.
By walking every day and getting fresh air, you're probably going to make healthier food choices and be more conscientious what you put in your mouth. Like it could be walking. And so what I tell people is don't even worry about the workout program. If you feel good today, go hard. Yeah. If you don't feel good, go for a walk. If you go for a walk 6 days in a row, that is far better than last week when all you did was sit on the couch.
Yeah.
And I don't care, Joe, if you lift weights again, you go in the CrossFit Open, or you do some landscaping, you clean your house, you do some laundry, you chop some trees. I was going to say this because this is a pet peeve of mine. I come from a place way up north where you cut your own grass and shovel your own driveway.
Yeah.
But God forbid you have to do that. Like, God forbid you actually have to use a lawnmower or do some physical labor.
It's actually, so I live in an area where like snow is generally a concern. Hasn't been this year, but I'm up north of the wall. It drives me nuts how proud people are of their snowblowers. Like, grab a shovel, dude. Like, just do the work.
Like, I'm just asking you, like again, not working out, Joe, not being on a regimented. What do all the kids on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube say? Like, not on a progressive overload strength program following the 12-3-30 protocol, the 3-3-1, the 9-7. And listen, I put that stuff out on my shorts too because, I think it's funny and I like hooks as much as the next guy. But my thing is like, you don't even need to go down that road.
Yeah,
you literally just have to exercise. And I want to leave the podcast today with a story about a woman I trained, Joe.
Sure.
She was nervous to lift weights. She was scared. Scared she was going to get hurt. She was also embarrassed. embarrassed to go to a public facility and lift weights in front of other people. So I said, can you buy a walking treadmill for your office? Just one of the flat ones with no handrails, like just a self-generated, just a treadmill that you can walk on. I don't want you to get the beefy one. I don't want you to invest thousands of dollars. I just want you to get a treadmill and set a desk up in front of it. She said, yes. I said, every time you're on a meeting, you have to be on that treadmill. She said, well, what if I'm on Zoom? Turn the camera off.
Yeah.
What if I have to turn the camera on? Well, then stop walking for a second, turn the camera on, say your piece, and then turn it off. But all I want you to do is to just get in the habit of walking every day. 6 months later, with no change in diet, and her diet wasn't great, no change in sleep habits, and no gym membership purchased, down 60 pounds.
Wow.
And what came along with that? The confidence to go to the gym, the confidence to try stuff, the confidence that she wasn't going to get hurt. And it's literally like walking, huh? Like walking worked that well. Yes, it did. The key was she just put in effort every single day. And I'm not even going to say every single day because she only worked 5 days a week, Joe.
Right. Yeah.
Like, that's it. But a funny thing happened. On the weekend, she missed walking. Didn't like sitting around. So would actually go for a walk around the neighborhood. It's really that simple. So if you're listening to us and you're watching this, and Joe, we've preached this for years.
Oh, yeah.
Just start doing stuff. Like exercise.
Yeah, I can already hear the pushback. Bullshit. I wouldn't lose 60 pounds walking. And we're going to hear that from some 19-year-old kid who's 190 pounds and 2% body fat. And it's like, we're not talking about you right now.
What we're going to hear, Joe, from that 19-year-old kid is Mike Menser says that's overtraining. Yeah. First of all, you couldn't pick Mike Menser out of a lineup. You don't know anything about him. And the 20 minutes that he says to work out is 20 minutes of intensity that you can't possibly fathom or understand. Never mind the alleged drugs that were flowing through his.
Right.
It's and now we're going down a rabbit hole, but it's really funny to me that I'm going to overtrain on 5 hours of walking a week or 5 hours of exercise.
Well, what did I say? I'm going to do this year. I've been doing this 50 push-ups a day.
Yeah.
Not all at once. 5 here, 10 there. Now, just so you know, I can drop and do 50 push-ups, right? Like, I can do that.
You're
overtraining. You got to give your muscles time to rest. Like, dude, it's 50 push-ups.
You know,
it's not that much.
I always reference this, and you've seen it in my seminar book. Steven Seiler did that research report. Olympic athletes are training 1,000 hours a year. That's what it takes to be a national level athlete. I think it is research report, and I would have to pull it here. I don't have it in front of me, but I think and I'm going to actually get my calculator here. I think the least training was for marathon running. It was 667 hours a year.
Yeah.
So 667 divided by 52, that's still 13 hours a week. So what, I'm going to overtrain on an hour a day? Like, it's just not, it's not realistic, guys. Like, you could do more work than you think, but here comes the people, 20 minutes a day, man. You got to give yourself time to recover. And again, you're right. It's always a 19-year-old that would look good getting out of bed.
Yeah. Yep.
Or way on the other hand, it's the person with the 60-pound gut hanging over their belt telling me that I'm going to overtrain.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know? Anyway, the Maximus Podcast, listen, not overly scientific. We're not going to fill your head with nonsense. And listen, there's a place for the scientific stuff. I'm not bashing on it. But if you want real advice, just real advice, someone telling it to you straight, the stuff you want to hear. No, I always mess that up, Joe. The stuff you need to hear, not the stuff you want to hear.
Yeah.
Then that's really what this podcast is about. Because for most people, You follow the simple advice, your life will be 95% better.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's it. And that's what we're trying to do. So drop the fads, drop the magic pills, drop the 3 easy payments of $9.99. Just get yourself right. We'll see you next time.